In front of Lemberg, the 17th of September, 9 p.m. "It is more a battle of honor," says the captured Lieutenant Colonel Willich, commander of a border rifle corps, to our interpreter this evening. The two have known each other a long time. They first met in Zalapane. Now they meet again under noteworthy circumstances. Willich was organizer of the Winter Games in Zalapane and leader of the Polish team for the Olympic Games in Berlin. He knows Germany well. He learned the art of war and German military science from German instructors. He tells us this and acknowledges the absolute superiority and effectiveness of our weapons. In Warsaw, he warned that the Polish army was too weak to engage the Germans. You can't win a war with your heart alone. He sees the end of Poland before him, and there's nothing more he can do. He says that Lemberg will be the last significant military engagement of the Polish army. If the army must go down, it should be beaten honourably, its duty to history accomplished. So the Poles have to make a stand at Lemberg. They know it. The war has been hot and forceful. Our howitzers will soon honestly pronounce the last rites for enemy resistance. "We'll give the Polish army all we've got," said our Major General R. before the onset of the Lemberg battle. "Maybe they'll be shooting tomorrow, but not the day after. The enemy has obviously strengthened his artillery. Our headquarters remains his target. In the afternoon, shells fall suspiciously nearby, but don't hit the street in front. Should our division staff move? To the right and left of the street we see no possible location. Should we withdraw? That would disturb our staff, even if tactically correct, opines Major General R., who has become personally involved. The decision? We stay put. That is our exceptional soldierly duty. A squadron of Junkers 52s arrived late yesterday afternoon. The planes dived and released parachute provision canisters filled with food and munitions, 80 of them, on the meadow near us. With mounting supply difficulties, this kind of help will prevent us from starving. We have cigarettes thanks to provisioning from the clouds. The red sun is deep over the horizon. A violet cloud bank sails toward the seething glow of the Galician evening sky. We are seeing not only clouds, but also columns of smoke flowing together, climbing from the region Grodek-Wisna, where a bitter battle has broken out in the last 3 days. Our Munich division drives in front of them dispersed elements of a Polish division. The Poles had been fiercely battling an SS division at Jaworów. The forests give the enemy the chance to regroup with enough strength to push through opposition. Our mountain division's extreme efforts at Grodek and Dobrostany have sapped their strength. Our bombers do their part to disturb the enemy's withdrawal as the Poles try to bend toward the forests at Janów-Jarina. Our efforts at containment are effective, and our sacrifices are not slight. The division staff lost, among others, Lieutenant Frobenius, editor of a Munich newspaper, who was killed at Dobrostany. Lieutenant von Weissenbeck is gravely wounded. "I have a special task," Lieutenant Frobenius said to us yesterday evening, filled with joy. "I rejoice. I have waited too long." At 1 a.m. he drove with his special task to Dobrostany. His cheerful nature was his shield. A shell fragment pierced his steel helmet. He died a soldier's death like his father in 1914. 3 company leaders were killed today at Holosko-Zbojska. Yesterday, the direct hit of a mortar shell destroyed our fully occupied first aid station. It's the last mission of a battle we call Schinderberg, a gruesome honour. Schinderberg is the Austrian name of an old Lemberg troop training ground. Holosko-Zbojska and the hotly contested nearby Jewish cemetery are places of honour for our Bavarian mountain troops. They went without supplies. Poles attacked them all night long. Enemy artillery shelled them and shut them in, reminiscent of the troop training ground. An exhausting two-front war continued from day to day. Our men grew weaker, yet they didn't pull back. One day it looked like they would be overpowered, but the next day our bold soldiers triumphed. The encircled enemy tries once more to break through our iron grip in the direction of Kulikov with a column of tanks and armoured cars. We have surrounded him since the 12th of September. We hear that our own armoured cars are near Kulikov. Our tanks are to overrun Lemberg. Today, our mountain division has radioed the Poles in clear text that the Russians have crossed the Polish border. Prisoners tell us today, the Polish leadership maintains their pious belief that the Russians have come to their rescue. The injection of a whopping dose of lies is whipping up the enemy's will to fight. Polish cavalry are skirmishing in Berlin-Grunewald. Mussolini has had a stroke. Revolution has broken out in Germany. French soldiers have penetrated deeply into the Reich. The purple fireball has set behind the dark rim of the world. Shots and battle rage. Black silhouettes in the surging lava of the western sky form an enveloping play of shadows. One division must exert its collected battle strength over 4 fronts at the same time, without palpable reinforcement. Our Herculean deeds can be measured against bold German combat on Galician earth in World War I. In the night, flickering firelight and the rumble of battle brought us information about the fierce fight of our troops with the Polish divisions that were making an intense effort to break through toward Lemberg. This morning we drove there. The street had already been secured. Our groups Pemsel, Utz and Kress came through at Dobrostany, 10 kilometers north of Grodek and the forest, headed to Janov, from where the Munich division was advancing to Lemberg. The armoured cars we heard this morning are already in Lemberg. Our ring is closing more tightly, especially in the southern part of the city. In Lemberg, the end is near. The order to our corps: completely surround the city. We see traces of the Poles' over-hasty retreat on the road to Grodek. A shell hit pushed a field kitchen into a street trench. Neglected omnibuses stand at the side of the road. Polish caps and satchels lie massed everywhere. We pass through Ukrainian villages. Life goes on as though nothing has happened. Farmers are ploughing furrows over their broad fields to plant winter grain. Black and white spotted cattle are grazing on the meadows. The farm girls wind up water pails from the wells. Gooseherds shriek. Refreshing breezes waft toward us from the morning cool, leafy forests. The sun plays with the glittering autumn dew. The wonderful land, in its fertility, stands in marked contrast to the penury of its people. A shot-up Polish tank stands at the entrance to Grodek. Anti-tank guns have torn up the tower. A brick wall taller than a man has been knocked over and fallen on the street, a few hundred meters behind. Did the fleeing Poles think they would impede their pursuers with it? An advancing combat train fills the Grodek marketplace. The Ukrainian flag waves from the city hall. The mayor, Johann Lebkuchler, has remained. The name doesn't sound Polish. Another of the innumerable cases where Poles took up German blood. At the city hall we meet ethnic German farmers from the colonial villages Burgthal and Hartfeld, near Grodek. They try to find abandoned Polish horses to replace the ones the Poles took from them. The farmers want to take care of their fields. The farmers' daily work will not tolerate postponement. Our troops stream through town. They must advance. But it's necessary for safety to leave a rear guard behind. The mob seeks an opportunity to plunder. The Polish military quarters resemble beehives gone mad. The rooms are thick with dust and naphthalene. Children, women, men, young and old, root through piles of clothes. They emerge happily smiling. A man has found a pair of shoes, an old woman some tattered stockings. They might carry off weapons as well. German sentries try to force the throng out and clear the room, but the impoverished people happily ferreting don't hear the commands. The sentries fire warning shots at the ceiling. Okay, those have an effect. A Ukrainian gent who speaks broken German served in the Austrian army during World War I. He makes clear to us his desire for drill pants and used boots, pressing the precious objects to his breast. Hopefully the Poles will come back with more. We'll take everything away. The boots are for winter. I don't have boots otherwise. We meet a Ukrainian who grew up in a German village and served as an imperial rifleman on the South Front in World War I. He explains to us his situation and that of his people with hate-filled words. The Volk waited for an upturn. Polish conscription was unbearable. I was a metal turner in the Lemberg car workshop. In May they let me go, with thousands of other Ukrainians. The Poles tax our farmers up to their eyeballs, far more than what the farmers bring in. But no Ukrainian has any say in the Polish state. We are bitter toward Warsaw. The Poles have not called in our intelligentsia, only the farmers' sons. They think the latter don't know enough to be dangerous. Of course, we Ukrainians have not forgotten the pacification of 1924, how the 14th Ulan Regiment in Lemberg clobbered our farmers. Here we are again. The German occupation will soon be over, the Poles said when they pulled out of here 24 hours ago. We drive down the road to the Grodek cemetery. Many Imperial Austrian troops are buried here in the Galician earth next to Poles and Ukrainians. We can't miss seeing the column of captives being led from Grodek to Kaltwasser on the dusty street. They shuffle along, heads down, a beaten army. This morning, Combat Group Schorner made contact with our tanks. This overall strengthening was necessary, because the pressure from the Poles is dangerous. They keep trying to break through from Holosko to Lemberg. Today, a Polish group succeeded in penetrating Resna Ruska. We saw them at 3 p.m., flooding back. Our flak was landing on their column at the forest edge, driving them into wild flight. We have cleared Resna Ruska. Enemy artillery has been savagely firing back since morning, setting fire to Schunthal, German Schunthal, poor settlers' town with inhabitants returning home. A Lemberg newspaper has fallen into our hands. The Dziennik Polski, Polish diary of the 17th of September, writes that the 16th Posen Division is coming to the aid of Lemberg. The single-sheet newspaper fantasizes that Polish artillery has silenced our batteries. When we think of the hard-headed failed Polish sorties these days, we can only grin. Krakow academic youth have entered Lemberg, writes the newspaper, to vanquish or die. Lemberg has sufficient food. Our own food supply is adequate thanks to a squad of Junkers 52s. At noon they flew low over the Lemberg airport, protection against flak. On a narrow strip of runway we marked, they were able to land. 2 planes that hit shell craters broke up. We received food and ammunition for the final battle around Lemberg. In front of Lemberg, the 19th of September, 8 p.m., prepare for the final battle. That's the explanation for the coming and going of artillery officers and messengers, for the arrival of numerous trucks and marching columns. The other divisions have moved to Lemberg. This morning, the Schlacht Battle Group and a neighbouring division occupied Winnicki, the German settlement of grape growers at the east exit of Lemberg, and made contact with Russian tanks. The city was thereby totally sealed off. Pioneer demolition troops of Group Scheines blew up the eastern railroad line at Krasna, which had been carrying supplies into Lemberg. Inside the city, confusion increased from hour to hour. Prisoners give us a precise picture. General Janusz Zajtik still pins his hopes on his volunteer companies, composed primarily of students. Brigadier General Langner tries with his remaining men to strengthen a defensive wall. The Poles are feverishly building street barricades, fearlessly indifferent to our bombs. Warsaw is holding fast, Lubin too. The Polish government says help is on the way. A rumour or intentional lie, French troops have broken through our Siegfried line at Saarbrücken, is supposed to stiffen spines and increase faltering resistance behind the barricades in the final hour. Our radio sends in clear text, German and Polish, a message to the Polish camp. Achtung, Achtung, German military command speaking. The German and Russian armies have closed the ring around Lemberg. Tomorrow, the 20th of September, 7 a.m., we will use the same frequency for our demand that the Polish military command follow our instructions to avoid useless bloodshed and destruction of the city. Achtung, Achtung, tomorrow morning on all radios. We have printed flyers that will rain down on Lemberg tomorrow, to the population of Lemberg. The Polish regime has fled the country. The Polish army is beaten and destroyed. The Russians have, as Germany's allies, crossed the Polish-Russian border. Lemberg is completely surrounded. All resistance is senseless. In front of Lemberg, the 20th of September, 4 p.m., our reconnaissance flies over the city at 8 a.m., received by angry defensive fire. This time our planes do not drop bombs that could again panic Lemberg. Yet what they drop is explosive. The town is in a mad fever of perverse expectation. The citizens of Lemberg and the Polish soldiers have no idea how near the end is. Yesterday they were wildly building barricades in the northern part of town. They dream of the Russians who will help them. We parade the senselessness of further resistance before their eyes. 20 Thuand paper flyers are the spiritual blasting caps that may loosen up turbulent Lemberg. Consider, your position is hopeless. The bulk of the Polish army is destroyed, as well as your troops at Jaworów and Janów. The Russian army has crossed the eastern border of Poland, and reaches out to the German army as an ally. Warsaw has offered its capitulation. Lemberg is surrounded. England and France have left you in the lurch. Lay down your arms. The people learn that the Beck regime has fled the country and are given our conditions. The city may be surrendered until the 21st of September, 10 a.m. If the city is not prepared to surrender, the civilian population will have an opportunity to leave town on the exit street in the east. Remorseless pounding by heavy weapons will follow. This demand will be repeated by radio after 7 o'clock to the Polish command headquarters. We met the parlementaires of the Army Corps at 11 a.m. We drive with them to the advance battle posts along Grodeca. At noon we notify the Poles by radio that we will await their representatives. We designate a noon ceasefire area. At noon on the dot we arrive and look into Grodeca at the street barricades that show substantial shell damage. We wait a quarter hour. Nobody shows up. We wait until 12:30. We still don't see anybody. We get ready to leave. "He's coming now," calls out one of our sentries. A Polish officer, deathly pale, arrives with a white flag under his arm. He greets us silently. He hands us a letter from the Lemberg military commander to the commanding general of our corps, Rittmeister B. We give him a letter from commanding General B. Done. After a short exchange of greetings with the Polish negotiator, Lieutenant Bialy, who, by the way, speaks good German, our task is completed. What does the Lemberg commander's letter say? The negotiator's bored, impassive mien indicates that war will continue. We have thought through the plan for a generalized attack on Lemberg, down to the last detail. It will be carried out. We prepare to intensely storm the city in the course of the day. We burn with immense strength to lead a victorious strike against the town we have bombarded for 8 days. We will smash the last refuge of the Polish Southern Army, already almost rubbed out. The Russians have pushed forward to Battle Group Skorna vs. Hengel. We hook up with the 8th Russian Cavalry Brigade to clear the area. Like in Winnicki, one of our representatives ends up mistakenly in Russian captivity. We want to drive to Winnicki, where our neighbouring division has been cordoned off from Russian tanks by a preliminary demarcation line. Davidov, south of Lemberg, the 20th of September, midnight. After the Poles refused our surrender conditions yesterday at noon, war continues. Our batteries, rumbling into the night, robbed the enemy of his last powers of resistance. The Polish staffs have no doubt lost their nerve. They have a few hours to waver between willingness to die in the rubble of the city or surrender. We arrive in Winnicki late afternoon. We proceed to division headquarters. Russian General Yakublov with a commissar is meeting with General Lieutenant F. Outside we see a dual language sign, German demarcation line Oberkommando der Wehrmacht, and meet a Russian sentry. We're curious about one another. When the Russian sees my notebook and pencil, he recognizes me. "Ah, Chernalski." At least that's how it sounded. I nodded yes, and the sentry laughed at his discovery. Twilight falls. We must leave at night. The planned general attack on Lemberg has been put off. The Russians will march into Lemberg, a rapid breakthrough. Remaining behind is a roast chicken ready to eat. What a shame. We get machorkovi from the cigarette factory in Winnicki. Awful booty nicotine noodles. We take home an indelible lung-biting memory. We leave Lemberg. Rain falls. Our columns drive to Davidov, where we arrive late evening. We bed down for the night in a prosperous farmhouse. By candlelight we discover old acquaintances, deep in Galicia in front of Lemberg. They are fellow Austrians from Carinthia. "So, you rascal, where have you been keeping yourself?" Dornfeld, the 21st of September, 10 p.m. Here is the order that preceded the retreat march of our corps. The Army Corps will begin to move during the night of the 21st of September, to the west of Lemberg. This morning we don't see anything wrong until we read the radio report from yesterday in black and white. Our troops pursuing the enemy to the line Stry-Lemberg-Brest-Bialystok will now plan to destroy the last remnants of the Polish army between the finally established Russian and German demarcation lines. We talk on the veranda of the Polish farmhouse, where we spent the night, about the meaning of this political decision. We press our hosts into the discussion, the estate owner, his wife, and his sister-in-law. They speak, for the most part, excellent German. They ask us plaintively, "Why don't the Germans stay here? Do you know when the Russians are coming? Should we leave this place? We have another estate in the former corridor. We have time to pack our trunks. What will happen to us? Look, in the big stable we have 40 cattle, but we'll leave them gladly behind. We can well imagine what will happen to us here. In the worst case, how many hours will it take the Russians to arrive? Advise us, help us." Eyes full of fear, they confront us hopefully. As we seek an answer to this ticklish question, an orderly appears at the door and calls out, "The Russians are coming." The question of our hosts has been answered by the event just announced. We walk outside on a hill and see Russian cavalry galloping into town, baggage wagons and field kitchen behind them, an almost ghostly rushing cavalcade. The view is breathtaking. Pale to the lips, the estate owner stands next to us. Motionless, he observes the hurrying riders pass. Soldiers and townspeople stream together to the edge of the road, astounded, mouths agape at the entry of the red squadrons into Davidoff. The red pennant of the foremost rider flames up at the far end of town. To us, it seems an apocalyptic horseman has passed by, who bears the glowing flames of destruction in the flag he carries. It's frightfully certain. With this strange troop of equestrians, a foreign world has broken in. We are standing opposite the demons of the steppes of Central Asia, face to face. Our wordless stares at one another say more, in this moment, than we possibly could with words. Cursing, red artillerists whip their steppe horses into a fast run past the trellis of onlookers. The owner's women trudge back into the house. Our host stands next to us, then walks away. In parting, he presses a short greeting. We have no doubt what fate awaits him. The Russians have displaced us, by and large. They have seized South Lemberg with their nimble cavalry. Russian motor vehicles are behind. They advance with more difficulty because nocturnal pouring rain has turned the meadows into moor. We march on, in part over the Russian advance path. Changing position, Russian columns and German vehicles overtake one another. We make a short stop behind Davidoff. A Russian squadron, out of breath, is resting. The horsemen, partly Mongols and men from Kyrgyz, sleep leaning on the necks of steppe steeds. Their field kitchen has prepared steaming borscht. We look warily at the foreigners. They look back suspiciously at us. We greet one another and ask with gestures what their badges mean. A German car carrying a battalion standard passes by. The Russians, armed with pistols, salute respectfully as we observe. We drive across the field to the highway Lemberg-Striege. In Agathov, we meet a column of Russian armoured vehicles, pushing forward during the night. I snap my camera's shutter and make mementos of this notably awful day. The Soviet tank commander is not pleased. His tank riflemen have posed heroically on the tower and stared photogenically at my lens. The Red Commander rushes at us, gesticulating wildly, and yells, "Near photographer! Near! Near!" On the highway we look once more toward Lemberg. Russian tanks and cavalry are racing there over the hills. Tomorrow the Russians will occupy the territory west of the highway Lemberg-Striege. Our drive takes us south to the German settlement Dornfeld. Dornfeld, Germany in lonely Poland, model of a Swabian eastern settlement. The town betrays careful planning with its quadratic borders and perfectly level streets. With hearty warmth, Dornfeld welcomed mountain troops from Steyr, Carinthia and Salzburg. Every farm home held a festive dinner for the soldiers. Roast goose with gherkin salad and delicious chicken were mainstays. We stayed in the home of Lutheran Pastor Jaki, a gracious host. We spoke of many topics at table: German suffering under Polish rule, German persistence and loyalty despite everything, hope for the new Reich, thoughts of his faraway sons. Pastor Jaki stood up repeatedly to counsel and soothe his children, other youths and grandfathers. We heard excited conversations outside. Our youth, our young fellows want out. It's difficult to keep them here. The old people complain, "What will we do by ourselves?" says the pastor when he returns. We must stick together for better or worse. We will all pull together in our new homeland, God willing. We met a Polish priest in Myslenice. He counselled the fearful populace who needed someone to talk to. Only one thought plagued him: how can I get out of here? We saw a Protestant minister in a trying hour staying resolutely with his community. What will happen tomorrow if you soldiers pull out? We'll need to defend ourselves against the Polish mob lurking outside to take revenge. What will the Russians do with us? What will happen tomorrow? We also ask ourselves. Dornfeld, the 22nd of September, 8 a.m. We have a foggy autumn morning full of pain and quiet sorrow. Our forced departure grips our hearts, God knows, a bitter parting. Ethnic German fighters throughout the world have all waged a hard, harsh battle. We pull out as commanded, to give the Russian occupiers space. When will people's dread of the Russians be realized? We don't know. Pastor Jaki only fears the Polish revenge-seeking mob before the interregnum. The Poles hadn't thought of marking the roofs of German farmhouses with a red rooster, as they had in Schöntal. We make one more trip around the village. Our drive yesterday was joyful. Today, dear Dornfeld is quiet. The old people stand clustered in groups. Young people shoulder their trunks and hurry to the truck that will carry them behind the German interest border. We watch a tearful, anguished parting. A disconsolate girl, pretty as a picture, clings to a fence in an entry garden. I must remain with my parents. We approach the elderly, who have no idea what to do. Tears run down their furrowed farmers' cheeks. Don't worry, men, the Führer won't forget you. He will call you home, all together. They draw in their breath and recite with emotion a farmer's prayer. Yes, we believe that too. The Führer won't forget us. He'll do something. The girls in the pastor's kitchen, yesterday jokingly plucking geese for the soldiers, sob and shed tears. When we arrived, our regimental musicians unpacked their instruments. Departing, they play a serenade for our brave Pastor Jaki, a fighter in a fighting community. Fluttering march strains, alpine marches, shake the grey morning awake. Maybe everything would have been easier without music, had it not been commanded. The groups of horses for our columns are impatient. We see fewer villagers on the main street. Too many carry evidence of their pain. The column marches out. Quietly we extend our hands, a wordless departure. Only eyes speak. Be well, brave Dornfeld. Your path of destiny has been strewn with thorns of late. Your return home to our great German fatherland will be wreathed with flowers. Grodek, Jagiellonsky, the 23rd of September, 10 p.m. We set aside a concentrated storming of Lemberg. After the political decision, it seemed to have no object. Throughout the day, the 21st of September, the battle groups of the Mountain Division broke off contact with the enemy. The exhausted Poles surrendered piecemeal on the morning the 21st of September to Battle Group Skorna. 50 officers and 1,000 men were taken prisoner. A large amount of war material was well-earned booty. Shortly before the Russians marched into Lemberg West, the military commander of Lemberg, General Janusz Zajtik, announced to a group of officers that further efforts at defence were useless. They should surrender to the Germans or Russians or await the final outcome in civilian clothes. The remaining gold was distributed to the troops. During the day, the number of surrendering Poles continually grew, the remainder of the Polish Southern Army. The 20,000 men had collectively 300 machine guns and 100 cannons, which were our booty. Lemberg, the radio reported, surrendered yesterday to the German troops marching away. Surrender negotiations are in progress with Soviet troops in the eastern rim of the city. Lemberg surrendered. Polish defenders were at first frightened by rapidly advancing German troops from Edelweiss to the gates of the city. Poles were hardened by 8 days of battle, but shaken by aerial bombing and heavy weapons. They experienced 65 relief and breakthrough attempts. They held back our advance with a heroic defence. They tried to build a resistance centre for regions under their South Army, but we thwarted them at Grodek and Dobrostany. The dead at Holosko and Dobrostany did not die in vain. The bravery displayed during the storm trip to Lemberg, as the division commander called it, informed all war negotiations. Our division commander was often personally at the head of the column, spreading fear and horror, driving into the foe, firing at the panicked Poles. On one occasion, his men rescued him from a highly dangerous situation. He drove his division at a wild tempo in a journey toward death and the devil. He struck the enemy's legs with abject horror. The bitter halt at a lonely position brought about victory. We're not talking about war luck here. Covered with eternal fame, the Mountain Division ended the campaign in Galicia. They conquered Galicia with irresistible attacks and roaring storm surges. They won with their 1-week advance, declared Major General R in today's orders to his troops. Lemberg surrendered to German soldiers already marching away. Only someone who could feel our heartbeat in the hard hours at Lemberg, who left good comrades in heroes' graves at Lemberg, can measure the greatness of our soldierly deeds that lay behind this brief radio report. Grodek Jagiellonski, the 24th of September, morning. The singing of our soldiers marching through the Grodek marketplace awakens us in the morning grey. Are they going home, or does a new duty call, who knows where, to the west? In any event, victory is the goal that draws forth all spiritual and bodily strength. Victory achieved and won. These troops have withdrawn from the extreme front lines of Lemberg. Our hearts have experienced in the agonies of the line of fire. Good comrades killed, uncertain hours of sentry duty standing guard amidst the bent and broken. The men's faces glow, free and elated. Their throats form the outline of their elation into song. It's actually not a song that our fellows sing this morning so that marching is easier. No, this song is joyous, proud, triumphant, lucky, a prayer and thank you. The soldiers belt out the austere melody of the march prodigiously. The Ukrainian inhabitants of Grodek hear it. For the last time in this magnificent war, the old folks hear German soldiers sing. Heavens, if only I had my harmonica, sighs a comrade near me. He would like to say something that words can express only with difficulty. Someone has sat down at a piano in the second floor of a house. He easily improvises arias and marches. Music fills the house. Melody relieves the tension of the days of war, the experiences of 3 weeks. The activity of our men is fused with the warm music to yield an arresting mental image. We notice that the piano is not in tune, but the warriors returning home generously overlook this flaw. A throng fills the marketplace. The Ukrainians stand around in groups. The women and girls are colourfully dressed, the old farmers in long linen smocks with broad straw hats. The mob streams into the churches, but no sounding of bells calls to a service. The bells are silent. The Catholics go to one place, the Greek Unitarians to the domed building. The churches are packed. In the frosty, cloudy morning, women kneel in front of the doors. The multi-voiced choir sings longingly. The pious know everything about the meaning of this hour. They flee to places of consolation for themselves and their children. This is no longer a time for reflection. It's more like a conspiracy, a gathering storm. The Red Army moves closer and closer. We're shaken by the changes in the town of Grodek from one day to the next. The hopes of a subjugated people have sunk. The hour of Ukrainian liberation, which the Ukrainians thought had arrived, appears to have disappeared forever. No fervent prayers are uttered during these church services, probably the last for the foreseeable future, only a desire to stop the rush of events. The entreaties ascend to high heaven. God, who directs events on earth, stays quiet. Others rule with his laws, as fearful humanity wishes. The blue-yellow Ukrainian banner on City Hall Tower, under the protection of the German Wehrmacht as a symbol of Ukrainian liberation, has been lowered. German civilian refugees stand in groups, their necessities bundled in sheets. They wait for the return of the truck that is ceaselessly carrying them away. Our army has taken charge of these ethnic Germans from Lemberg and its surroundings. Polish prisoners wander around the marketplace, not under guard, which is no longer necessary. They don't look like they want to shoot at us again. Groups form from the direction of Przemysl, trying to get to Lemberg. A cross-section of fate inhabits the marketplace, which was witness to 4 years of World War I, floods of people, and has lost its capacity for wonder. The motors of our columns start up. The tower clock shows 10:15. The Mountain Division staff leaves Grodek. In a few hours, our rear guard will be gone, and the Red Army will have arrived. Our memory of the first meeting with the Russians at Winnicki and the apocalyptic horsemen in Davidov springs to mind. Like a paralyzing incubus, it hovers over us at the moment of departure from Grodek. During the drive to Przemysl, the horseman remains with us, gloomy and stifling. Przemysl, the 24th of September, 7 p.m. Is today already Sunday? Were people going to church in Grodek, the 23rd and 24th of September? We take pains to find respite in place and time. The spiritual machinery can hardly process the dramatic events that have stormed upon us. A day of rest will provide us with hours for quiet reflection before things start happening once more. How have we pulled this off? The ordnance technician with me in the car was a member of pursuit group Wintergerst Schorner. He shakes his head in wonder at what a disciplined mind can accomplish when fired by the force we call bravery. We find it all fantastic, looking back from Jablonka Pass to Lemberg. Here every hour is unpredictable. We are headed for a goal after a string of unheard-of occurrences. Our awareness lights us up from within, and we can no longer smile. The technician showed me a creased letter he got from a comrade, who Przemysl, the 24th of September, 7 p.m. Is today already Sunday? Were people going to church in Grodek, the 23rd and 24th of September? We take pains to find respite in place and time. The spiritual machinery can hardly process the dramatic events that have stormed upon us. A day of rest will provide us with hours for quiet reflection before things start happening once more. How have we pulled this off? The ordnance technician with me in the car was a member of pursuit group Wintergerst Schorner. He shakes his head in wonder at what a disciplined mind can accomplish when fired by the force we call bravery. We find it all fantastic, looking back from Jablonka Pass to Lemberg. Here every hour is unpredictable. We are headed for a goal after a string of unheard-of occurrences. Our awareness lights us up from within, and we can no longer smile. The technician showed me a creased letter he got from a comrade who had to stay home on account of pressing matters. Pain and a single complaint spoke from it. Why can't I be with you? Is it possible we can still meet up in enemy territory? Afraid not. The war is over here anyhow. We're astounded that the chaussée to Przemysl is so orderly, filled with the retreating victors of Lemberg. It is a marching highway of victory, hotly contested, since Lemberg didn't surrender immediately, and enemy divisions tried to break through here. Now it's filled with the songs of the brave. The broad highway that connects, string-like, Lemberg with Przemysl saw the march that overcame Poland. The middle is held free for our equipment. Both sides belong to the beaten enemy. They walk in long rows, heads down, prisoners torn, bareheaded, barefoot. Their worn-out boots hang from their shoulders. We have taken Polish cannons as booty. They hang on our trucks. Der Polski ist schon weich. Wir wollen heim ins Reich. The Polak is already soft. We want to go home to the Reich. We read in chalk on the armour plate of a tank. Off to our artillery emplacement in Berlin is written ironically on a booty cannon. One driver has painted the name of his girlfriend Steffi in a giant heart pierced by an arrow on his truck. The arrow points to Vienna. Przemysl comes into view. We reach the demarcation line. We stop at the destroyed bridge over the San. Our artillery technician gestures toward the opposite bank and says to our driver, "Now we can go to Germany." He looks at the bridge with an expert's eye and says the enemy did a good job destroying it. The view from the middle of the bridge offers a scene resembling a miniature Polish Venice. A few Przemyslnians have chartered a good dozen wooden boats. With long staffs like gondoliers, they convey passengers over the San, fare 5 groschen. It's pleasant on a cold day to dream of a southern idyll. The boat traffic makes it easy. Welders and torches have arrived to cut up the fallen bridge section. We find it gripping to watch the clean-up. We never tire of observing. A restaurant beckons from the plaza above with cognac, beer, our first beer in weeks, and an extensive menu. Incredible. We would never have believed it until we ate double portions of all the delicacies: soup, pot roast with gherkin, and beer. The weapons technician, who comes from Upper Bavaria, let fly with a cannonade of praise for the splendid beer as he was washing down his second half-litre. He maintains that for Bavarians, beer is food. Hermann Göring is supposed to have said the same thing. Our Bavarian soldiers' stormy cry for the last weeks was, "Do you have pivo?" They got flavoured water. Finally, they are drinking what they wanted. Beer flows from the beer tap, Zloty Russell, The pivo brings happiness to 100 parched throats. Russians march in. Przemysl, the 26th of September, 10 p.m. Our men who were prisoners in Lemberg have been released. They're down at the field kitchen, eating heartily for the first time. They sleep in our division headquarters in a school. Somebody calls through the door. We feel our way through the black night to the field kitchen on the sandbank. We get hold of them, our unshaven comrades, at a tea party. 12 men, reported missing until now, released a few hours ago in Lemberg. A group of 85 men set free, previously hovering between life and death. 12 belonged to the Mountain Division. In their faces we read the torture of past days. Hunger, lack of sleep, excitement, a mixture of joy and suffering. Eat first as much as you want. Drink. We know that water was short in Lemberg. Then tell us about your experiences. They shaved you bald, didn't they? Did the Polacks give you anything? You're still in one piece. In a manner of speaking, we have scratches, says the factory worker from Herne in Westfall. The pioneer R points to his head with his index finger. If they had hit me any harder, I wouldn't be here. He has a 10-centimetre long furrow, a wound scarcely healed in his skull. I'll tell you the whole story of how I was captured. We were in the west of Lemberg. You know the position, near where the shot-up streetcar sat. We got out a bit further from the underpass. A Polish cannon was firing constantly at us along the street. We wanted to obliterate it. Lieutenant R, 2 other men and I climbed to the 2nd floor of a building. We sat next to the window. The courtyard was full of Poles. The cannon we were trying to destroy was beneath us. We tossed down a bunch of hand grenades. We destroyed the cannon. The Poles took cover. We spritzed them. They gave as good as they got. They ran up the steps. I told my comrades, hide under the beds. I leaned against a trunk like this. The first Pole arrived. I finished him off. When the second Pole arrived, I shot him too, as well as the third. The fourth shot me in the elbow. A second bullet went through my hand. The Poles surrounded me. I noticed a wrinkled, wounded right hand. I had to surrender. The scratch? They drove me through the city. It was chaotic. The large street, Grodeka, was lined with earthen barricades. Tubular cement barriers lay diagonally across. A mass of civilians was nearby, building new barricades. We, my guard and I, approached a group of civilians, shoveling and breaking ground. My guard, I must say, did nothing to me but the civilians. They were Jews and really gave it to me. They saw my insignia and screamed, a German flyer. They foamed with anger, spit at me, hit me in the face. I could not defend myself. My arm burned. My sleeve was soaked with blood. But they couldn't care less. Why aren't you in the hospital? Man, you'll end up with a stiff arm or no arm at all. The brave fellow was cool and collected. He bore his injury without complaint, a stocky Westphalian with broad face, heavy skull and athletic build. Nothing worried him. He continued quietly. You German Schweinhund, one civilian said to me, dragging a crowbar over my ribs. I thought I was finished. The sentry guarding me was powerless against the mob. They swore and cursed behind me. An old man in civilian clothes ran up to me from the side and struck me over the head with something, I think a rifle stock. That's the scratch. After that, I don't remember anything. They saw the blood spurting from me and left me there. When I came to, they schlepped me to the command headquarters for interrogation. I explained that at night during the battle I was right at the front, and saw or heard nothing other than what the Poles did. They believed me and let me go. I saw that our troops encircled Lemberg and that they were white as chalk. The Poles took everything from me. Fountain pen, matches, pocket knife, handkerchief, money, watch, everything. I was in the military prison. We had awful mush to eat, tasted like cooked oats or barley. We ate it. We were terribly hungry. Our jail had thick walls, bomb-proof. They immediately brought us upstairs, under the roof, so that the aerial bombs would hit us first. Later, they put us in the riding hall. We slept on pure horse dung. We had no drinking water. I remember the first question at my interrogation. What religion are you? If you said Roman Catholic, you got preferential treatment. If you said Protestant, you were through. They asked me if I was Jewish, said a blonde Swabian. When I said no, the Pole said, "I'm a Jew. I shit on Germans." The Swabians smelled the roast and hoped for good weather. Were you in the Hitler Youth? Is everybody in Germany a Nazi? In their final hours in office, Polish officials in Lemberg asked these questions. Germany must fall, a Polish corporal in the citadel said, according to another returning comrade. The Polish corporal pointed to the gallows-like structure on which hung the gas alarm and opined, "Your Führer will one day hang from there." The corporal spoke good German. He sometimes lied, but more often offered up sincerely what Polish officers had told him, stammering with desperation. He reeled off pious Polish pronouncements, which had spurred on the faltering defence of Lemberg. Hitler has been shot. Goering has been shot. 800 bombers have turned Berlin into rubble. Krupp is kaput. The West Wall has gone to the dogs. The French have penetrated deeply into Germany. "I didn't dare laugh or contradict," said our comrade from the Augsburg Imperial Regiment. Dressed as a civilian judge, he was one of the first prisoners the Poles captured at Lemberg. Being a rarity, he was carefully handled. They even gave him cigarettes, ceaselessly from one camp to another. The people in Lemberg could feel a small triumph when they saw the captive Germans. The Poles no doubt had the illusion that they could win. They issued posters showing the prisoners and asserting that German artillery was becoming less accurate. The so-called Red Cross nurse in Lemberg had an opportunity to express her sisterly feelings. Cigarette dangling from her lips, she waved her sidearm in the air. The gun-toting woman hid her subjugation to the Geneva Convention. Her performance frightened prisoners to death. Her grimaces and gestures spoke of stabbing and decapitation. "How did you escape? If you're not too tired, tell me. Who knows whether we'll meet again tomorrow? There could be a sudden breakthrough toward Germany or the West Wall. What a life. The candle is burning down. Make it short." In the evening, the 22nd of September, Polish soldiers nailed shut the officers' trunks. We knew the Poles were being beaten. The assault couldn't be stopped. Their sides of bacon were hastily stowed. A major spoke to us of surrender through a translator. For the moment, we were to remain where we were. Our first priority was to arm ourselves after our guards left. The mob was going to overrun the place, plunder, schlep out all the junk. The marauders must have been hungry. One ate a green herring he had pulled from a pile of dreck. Ukrainians remained as civilian guards. The Jewish mob arrived upstairs first. They were renowned soldiers, I tell you. High on their horses, the Jews rode in with red armbands. Like sacks of oats, they clung to the horses' backs, waving their rifles about wildly. They set about plundering immediately. If they were driven off, they came back like flies. The Russians marched in. The brutal Red regime governing the town dissolved the thieving mobs. Little resistance occurred. Anyone who didn't obey was hammered down on the spot. The Russian officers who visited us were apparently told to make a good impression. They paid us 6 rubles daily for the work we did, as well as 100 cigarettes for each man. Do you want to know what Moscow cigarettes taste like? Here, try one, comrade. There's not much to smoke in Lemberg. We'll call it the peace cigarette. Thanks. Get some sleep. Good night, comrade. Asterisk. After a long time, 12 men slept once more the blessed sleep of the hero come home, unspeakably more blissful than the sleep of the righteous. Zurawica, the 10th of October. The west wind blows through the dark October night, whipping rain ahead of it. In the south, it's a bit brighter. The light from Przemysl shimmers through the clouds. Zurawica, the location of a company, our rear guard on the San, is 8 kilometers in front. Here in the former Zurawica barracks of a Polish tank battalion, our brave soldiers are lodged. They seem to feel well. Song emerges from the lighted windows. Happy noises come from the corridor, a picture of camaraderie. A piano is accompanied by a drum. The company chief celebrates with his corps of non-coms. We note an absence of ceremony in this evening of entertainment, which readily accepts a passing stranger. Yes, comrades, you have every reason to celebrate. With good conscience, you can enjoy the pleasantly warm room, the music and expensive liquor. We know what is behind you and what claim you have on a few quiet, refreshing days. In minutes, the nocturnal cold dissipates from our icy limbs. With frequent toasts all around, everyone celebrates his presence in the cheerful room. A true congress of great German origin is assembled. A master sergeant, a teacher from Vienna, bewitches the piano with siren songs. A soldier from Salzburg mans the cheerfully hissing beer cask, also his profession at home. A Lower Saxonian toasts a Silesian. A trooper from Steyr teases a compatriot from Tyrol. 3 Corinthians represent the Southern Reich with their soft accents. The armourer F speaks in the Swabian organ-like manner. In training uniform, the company chief sits with his men in a circle. He comes from Graudens, part of the liberated corridor. All these people are from a defensive tank company of the mountain troops. The tank crews were constantly at the front, and are at the front now, trying to shatter sharply aimed jokes against their armour-plated reticent hearts. We are blasted kaput for the moment. We surrender unconditionally, a result of the humorous crossfire sparking around our ears. It's the selfsame humour of the last war weeks, when the situation was critical. The jokes are not broad or sick, they are good worldly German humour. Their impetus is the strength of the German spirit that always says yes when reality would like to say no. What compels tonight's cheer? Why is mirth breaking out explosively? Could the answer be duty done to the fullest? Fidelity to duty glows in our talkative men as their eyes sparkle. 3 of the men were awarded Iron Crosses a few days ago. Brimming with pride, the company chief, Captain M, told us the story. A Northern Army bunch, these guys, he whispered to us. It's difficult to realize what our brothers did. Our mountaineers marched truly, bravely, 80 kilometers if necessary, with only a 2-hour pause for rest. Covered with dust and dreck, we were subjected to enemy fire. Civilians shot at us. Clergymen shot at us. Look at him. Captain M subtly gestures at a sergeant with a sharply pointed nose, an obviously popular figure. I have nominated him for officer training. He already has an Iron Cross. His men are intensely devoted to him. He is the son of an Austrian officer. I know more like him. Then there was our rifleman, Holler. He's in Spittal at the moment, a harmless fellow, another Austrian. Nobody thought much of him. Yet he stood alone at a tank cannon, shot twice in the arm, closely surrounded by the enemy. He kept firing the gun. The rest of the tank crew had been killed. I put him in for promotion to Unteroffizier. He's been promoted and given an Iron Cross. I must add that when he ran out of ammunition, he threw captured Polish hand grenades. The inconspicuous, the harmless, who would inspire no one's confidence, have battled like heroes. Many men in the field have honoured themselves. I don't have 4 columns anymore, only 3, says the company chief. I had to abandon 7 vehicles. The others have numerous scars. I count 8 dead and 8 wounded. Joy holds her breath for an instant. Silence lasts a pair of heartbeats. It's as though some men are among us that our eyes don't see but whose presence our hearts feel. All of us secretly sense the puzzling electrical current circling within ourselves that binds life and death together. A strong, manly death is not unending darkness that gulps down cheer like a shudder, but a beaming strength permeating our lives. We find it in every song that goes, "March with us in our ranks, in our spirit." But deep thought did not belong to this hour. Laughter again sprang from mouth to mouth. Jokes flew like baseballs over the bar counter. Beer mavens and 100-literists eagerly pump the long-absent drink out of its flask. Good-natured ridicule accompanies the clicking of glasses. The Corinthians make clear to the men from Linz that East Tyrol belongs to Carinthia for at least a dozen reasons. The Linzers draw themselves up with Tyrolean pride and demand autonomy. The debate ends with the accusation, "Gypsies must have galloped through the town where you were born. Otherwise the inhabitants would feel differently. Do you get my drift?" The fellow who believes he has won the debate demonstratively puffs his pipe. "If your pipe belches more smoke, there won't be a dry eye in the room," scoffs the other debater in the background. "I must laugh at their quarrel," the company chief whispers to me. He regards his comically boozy family's fun in a mild, fatherly way. 2 more wine bottles are brought out, long-guarded treasures. Fine muscat bubbles onto the counter. The flask is like a fruit rind in our borrowed home, the Polish tank barracks that has given up its worthy community goblets. Twice we pass the bottle around. Our mood is ripe to experience the wild story that old Heinrich von Kleist told of a Prussian knight in 1806. The Soldier's newspaper, Krakow edition, reprinted it. A dying candle flickers. It weirdly lights a dozen soldier faces with its reddish glow. We read from the folded paper. Everyone listens raptly. During pauses in the reading, you could hear a pin drop and the patter of the rain outside the window. Here is Kleist. Cursed Noose is the title of the treatise on German knightly boldness. A Prussian knight is the only man remaining in a surrounded village. What? The Prussian knight spits out and catches 3 French chasseurs' eyes. If it were their toes, I'm not afraid. And at that moment the 3 Frenchmen are riding into the village. Bassa Manelka, cries the knight. He spurs his horse and bursts upon them. As God lives, bursts upon them and seizes them, as if he had the whole Hohenlohe Corps behind him, and flings them from their saddles. We are reading the anecdote about the Prussian knight at precisely the right moment. When would we be better able to envision what was happening than now? We had just lived through Polish attacks from impenetrable forests and malicious villages. 3 against 1. We were up against those odds, if not worse. 3 flung from the saddle and 1 Prussian knight charging through the enemy ring. Bassa Manelka, they said in those days. Hurrah! We shouted in the past weeks. In 133 years, damned little has changed. An unknown knight heaved 3 enemies from their saddles. An innkeeper repeatedly calls him a hell of a fellow. The hell of a fellow could be named Rifleman Holler, who is not with us today because his wounds are still healing. His comrades Friedrich and Ziegler were killed right and left, next to his tank cannon. Holler kept shooting, although he was bleeding profusely into his sleeve after 2 bullets went through his arm. A hell of a fellow? In reference to Kleist, a damned noose, those who are drinking like fish and listening. It's as though Kleist hears his work read to a few comrades who didn't return, or are unnamed, like his Hohenlohe Corps knight in 1806. Finish up, comrades. The light is going out. It's well past midnight. We take one more mighty gulp of golden muscat from the bar, a toast to the bold, immortal German knight who knocked 3 from the saddle, then and now. Diary entries from 2nd to the 11th of November, 1939. Our time in Krakow comes to an end. We hear that we will be redeployed. The weeks soon pass. The quiet was beneficial. Krakow is a town you can live in contemplatively, an atmospheric city where you soon feel at home. German cultural artifacts are what please the visitor. The Poles can't get rid of them. Charming, lovable objects from old Austria have rescued Krakow. Echoes of Vienna are everywhere. Café Fenier, a classic example. Timeless window decorations and mocha philosophical consideration thrive here. Exotic, wonderful blossoms endure the breathless passage of time, an increasing rarity, asterisk. It was splendid up there in the Tatra, in the wild and woolly Jawodzina, meeting the blonde, blue-eyed mountain people of the Gorals, a notable tribe. Ancient farm decorations have swastika motifs. Over the entrance to the Goral Museum in Zakopane, I see a chiseled swastika with the insignia 1922. It offends Jewish guests taking the cure, the museum director tells us. During the nocturnal trip home, we sank to our knees in dreck. A dozen men's arms and 2 horses were needed to heave us out of the mud. Autumn in Poland, asterisk. We're now certain. The company will be divided. Half will remain in Poland, half will march west. No one knows which half he will end up in. If you're a soldier, far away from gunfire, you can't know where sparks will spray from the next blade. Damned hard. Everybody wants to go west. Now we know who goes and who stays. The fellows who stay become quite monosyllabic. We others are keen to march no matter where. It would be better if we knew where. Asterisk departure rail terminal in Krakow. Since this morning, 2 columns of the propaganda company with their cars are being loaded. The field kitchen offers us a departure meal between the rails. Shortly before our train pulls out, we receive our orders on paper, a beautiful happening. We learn that we, as corporal, as Unteroffizier, will undertake the trip west, a delicious travel dish. The company chief releases us with wishes for profuse soldiers' luck. Then the pain arrives. departure from good comrades remaining here. They stand in a silent line along the tracks. With a lengthy whistle, the train pulls out. Our comrades wave goodbye silently. We hardly trust ourselves to wave back an agonizingly moving departure. Asterisk. A dark morning somewhere in Germany, we rub the sleep from our eyes. Diary entries from 2nd to the 11th of November 1939. Our time in Krakow comes to an end. We hear that we will be redeployed. The weeks soon pass. The quiet was beneficial. Krakow is a town you can live in contemplatively, an atmospheric city where you soon feel at home. German cultural artifacts are what please the visitor. The Poles can't get rid of them. Charming, lovable objects from old Austria have rescued Krakow. Echoes of Vienna are everywhere. Café Fenier, a classic example. Timeless window decorations and mocha philosophical consideration thrive here. Exotic, wonderful blossoms endure the breathless passage of time, an increasing rarity. Asterisk. It was splendid up there in the Tatra, in the wild and woolly Jaworzina, meeting the blonde, blue-eyed mountain people of the Gorals, a notable tribe. Ancient farm decorations have swastika motifs. Over the entrance to the Goral Museum in Zakopane, I see a chiseled swastika with the insignia 1922. It offends Jewish guests taking the cure, the museum director tells us. During the nocturnal trip home, we sank to our knees in dreck. A dozen men's arms and 2 horses were needed to heave us out of the mud. Autumn in Poland. Asterisk, we're now certain. The company will be divided. Half will remain in Poland, half will march west. No one knows which half he will end up in. If you're a soldier, far away from gunfire, you can't know where sparks will spray from the next blade. Damned hard. Everybody wants to go west. Now we know who goes and who stays. The fellows who stay become quite monosyllabic. We others are keen to march no matter where. It would be better if we knew where. Asterisk departure rail terminal in Krakow. Since this morning, 2 columns of the propaganda company with their cars are being loaded. The field kitchen offers us a departure meal between the rails. Shortly before our train pulls out, we receive our orders on paper, a beautiful happening. We learn that we, as corporal, as Unteroffizier, will undertake the trip west, a delicious travel dish. The company chief releases us with wishes for profuse soldiers' luck. Then the pain arrives. Departure from good comrades remaining here. They stand in a silent line along the tracks. With a lengthy whistle, the train pulls out. Our comrades wave goodbye silently. We hardly trust ourselves to wave back, an agonizingly moving departure. Asterisk. A dark morning somewhere in Germany. We rub the sleep from our eyes and look out at a small station, devoid of people, where we briefly stop. Station officials come to our window. Do you know, comrades, what has happened? What happened, for God's sake? A bomb attack on the Führer in the Bürgerbraukeller last night. The radio just announced it, says the man, drawing in his breath. And? The Führer is alive, but other people were killed. Our transport is sent into frenzy. Attack, Bürgerbaukeller. A key word is missing when our trip resumes. Secret Service. We want to give the word to you at home, murderous comrades on the other bank of the canal. A provocation, a conspiracy, an offering of hate. We are filled with wonder that the Führer was spared. Asterisk. We reach our destination after a trip almost 5 days long, a major city in the west. At nightfall we get off the train with our cargo. Blackout and anti-aircraft defences are for us new experiences. An empty school building is our barracks. Will we spend days or months here before we are again sent in battle to destroy the enemy in the west? Will the selfish, credulous waiting stretch out over the entire winter? At the West Wall, the 22nd of December, 1939. A stiffly blowing night wind whirls through the bushes, rattling and clattering in the old building. We could easily believe we were hearing enemy spies, taking advantage of a quiet hour, Christmas time, to advance in no man's land. But our sentries keep watch faithfully over the terrain outside, well in front of the barbed wire piles. We can relax. We can stop anyone trying to invade Battle Station 103. We can permit our view of the lighted tree to enter into ourselves. The tree is a symbol of the most beautiful experience a German can have. War evening for the right and true, we follow the call of the light born anew at Christmas for the length of a solar year. God knows it was the same in the First War winter, 1914 to 1915. Outside on the battlefields of Flanders, northern France and Galicia, German soldiers in the trenches and installations gathered around the evergreen tree, perhaps a twig, on which a single candle stump flickered over a few paper scraps. In 1917 we had to march to North Galicia, besiege Verdun, fight U-boat and cruiser high seas wars on the Adriatic and North Sea. German prisoners, who had no glowing tree to cheer their neglected and needy circumstances, felt the festival inwardly. For us, Christmas is not the hustle and bustle, the tearful merry Christmas, of those on the other side of the Channel. Our Christmas is a profound acknowledgement. As we work through the thicket to our bunker, we must consider that for 25 years, fate has granted us Germans no other Christmas than war and worry. The First War Christmas, 1914, Christmas 1919 amidst our breakdown, Christmas 1923 in the shadow of the Munich November events and Rhine suffering, Christmas 1930 living on charity in a Germany bled white, fully reduced to penury, 1932, Christmas of apparent hopelessness, but with the solstice came Germany's reversal of fate. 1933 was a July festival of joy, of reawakened belief. In 1934 to 1937, we had an embattled Christmas, a bunker Christmas, so to speak, for ethnic Germans in Austria, the Sudetenland and the Polish corridor. Secretive conspirators met here and there on the cliffs, in out-of-the-way valleys and quiet courtyards to renew their oath. The bunker Christmas is our fate today. Don't think that we're sad about it, even if our thoughts wander back to mother, wife and child. Believe that we're proud and happy. We sense the new birth of light that we call Christmas as warriors, who fight for fulfillment of our secure, happy German destiny. In this hour, cannon barrels and machine guns stare from our combat-ready concrete forts. Yet we feel secure in this peaceful night, which makes us certain of victory in our righteous struggle. We have arrived. The armoured door of battle installation 103 is opened a bit. Warlight floods toward us. We hear a cheerful greeting. Hello? Oh, fine, you've done it, comrades, like Santa Claus in his exalted person. Where did you find the charming, thick-branched fir tree? Do you think the Widow Bolton from the milk store brought it? No, my boys, not at all. Our sentries got it from no man's land, says a Berlin youth in a soldier's coat. We have an Advent wreath too. Our young Turks found it. We bunker fritzes always know what we need for a sunny youth and rich inner life. Yes, golden humour thrives here. Good-natured teasing makes bunker life entertaining. Today, certainly, it's more subdued than usual, with everyone trying to find himself. We see the hard life of the front soldiers chiselled into faces that glow with the red breath of the lighted tree. The soldiers decorated it with thoughtful gestures, as they would have as fathers of their children in the light of their homes, with tinsel and candles placed on the branches. North, south, east and west of the Reich are represented. The old men of 1914 to 1915 are present, and the youths can enjoy their proven camaraderie. They have given the bunker a nickname, At the Old Bones. For the seniors, it's their 5th war Christmas on the battlefield. For the 5th time, they fulfill the exalted experience of all Germans in our community of warriors, no matter their profession. They are so strong and genuine as only a man can be in battle. The Iron Fellowship of the front soldier in 1939, like in World War I, is more than a feeling of togetherness. The radio standing next to the gas masks brings oft-repeated greetings from our homeland. Happy, simple folk melodies fill the room with wonderful hominess. The wooden coke-burning stove provides comforting external warmth. Letters from home, brought west with gifts of love, furnish inner warmth. The German Christmas carols furnish sensations that can be felt, though not expressed in words. The German soul is sensitive and warlike simultaneously. The old bones, the brave fellows tested at the front, sing like children the ancient song. On the Christmas tree the lights burn, how soulfully it glows, dear and mild, as it says, see in me a quiet picture of true hope. The last strophe is ripped suddenly in two. The captain arrives. He shares with his men the happy hour, here, there, and in the neighbouring bunker. Herr Captain, I report, Battle Station 103 is celebrating Christmas. The captain does not arrive empty-handed. A case of Niersteiner Domtal, 1928 appears. Steinhager for the Westphalians, fine cigarettes, chocolate, dates. Who imagined war would be like this? In World War I, said the sergeant, eyeing the Steinhager batteries. I had a weakness for Steinhager, but now I prefer Watcholder. Ah, times change. We must make a toast. Somebody utters the passphrase and the expected bunker greeting follows. It ends with the used glasses thrown over the shoulder against the wall to prove they are completely empty. They have given us our heart's desire, but they forgot one thing, asserts Rifleman Mars. Batteries for our radio. Homeland. How could you? The men outside by the barbed wire, our forward sentries, should celebrate with us. The captain himself brings them the treasured gifts. Tonight the passphrase is unique. No one is forgotten. It's late. Battle Station 103 shelters happy soldiers with its concrete walls. Everything grips us. What is sung, what is said. Especially the words from a Swabian World War I soldier as he walks out the steel door. I didn't ask for the first war, but the second. We experience bunker Christmas and certainty of victory in our great German war of liberation. The U-boat trap of plutocratic morals, the mischievous gentleman. What we soldiers in the West are thinking, end of February 1940. We've been warned for a long time about the so-called fairness of England, at least since the day at Scapa Flow that the German war fleet sank, and then German sailors tried to rescue, sailors in the water. The English turned their batteries of machine guns on the boats of the German sailors. The murderous acts at Jossing Fjord fully opened our eyes, as well as cowardly British attacks on our Waccamaw and Watusi. Showing respect for the honestly battling, bleeding enemy who can no longer defend himself belongs to what we Germans designate as fair play. It would be nice if we competed in football with another team, but we don't need to. We carry our fair play within ourselves, our minds and souls, deep within the German being. We want to be victorious, but not at any price. When we say fair, we are alluding to a German virtue that this non-German word describes. When we want to express the notion that so-and-so behaved irreproachably in a difficult situation, we say, he handled himself like a gentleman, or his knightly bearing swayed us. Even though this thoughtless description is not consistent with our Volk and its past, to us it's a bitter sort of punishment. A gentleman. What praise, what a lazy word at the same time. It's as though we didn't know what to anticipate from a nobly behaving person. Fairness. We accept our expectation honestly, which has always been our mistake. We graft French and English words onto our native German, as though we were ennobling a wild tree with rare foreign branches, while others strew tinsel and claim a false morality. Haven't we already realized that we wild ones are better human beings? Proverbial German propriety has always lacked reservations. Others are more reserved. Our U-boat men, for example, could make their mission easier if they sank suspected ships without warning. Alone they undertake the challenge of halting ships of unknown nationality, and, in the case of contraband, giving the crew a chance to abandon ship, despite the danger that the treacherous British will sink us. We display chivalrous behaviour, the opposite of the Churchill U-boat cases.